So, okay, question, how did you find the accelerator? And, what was the reason for investing in the program? What value did you see in it and what came out of it and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, frankly, it primarily became, came from you as far as like how I found it. I've always collaborated with you. I've always followed you. I've always trusted you as far as your knowledge in the space and your experience. And so, especially in the early days, like you said, there were very few of us that we could actually have a discussion with each other and talk at the same level. Yep. Because everybody else was just listening in and taking notes. It's like, okay, that doesn't help me. It doesn't help you, but we would get on, we'd talk about like, hey, what do you think about this? Well, things have changed. Things have definitely grown. We've got our Consultant 100, group, but there are now, thousands of PPC experts out in the world.
Yep.
A little air quote going on there.
Yeah.
But honestly,
it was the Wild West
because I trusted you. I was familiar with you. Obviously, you've got a personality that I'm jealous of, that's just out there and just energetic, and people are like, well, man, it's fun hanging out with Sean. And so
get out of here. The ego is not big enough for this office. Jeez.
Oh, my head's getting heavy. No,
I'll be back, guys.
Hold on, I gotta get a stand.
Oh man.
That's kind of how my wife teases me. It's like, oh, you're the Brian Johnson. Oh, shut up. No, but honestly, it was because, I didn't have to search for it. I just, as soon as you came out with it, I'm like, it's like, I want to see what he's got going on there.
Cool.
And frankly, it comes down to, because like I said, it's like, I do have my own course and I have my agency team, the staff that goes through my course.
Yep.
But I'm the kind of person that every time I'm commuting, I'm always listening into my peers. I'm listening to other people who are up and coming, who are stating strategy, and listening to YouTubes and podcasts and new content that gets published all the time, because I just I may hear the same thing that I already know 100 times.
Yep.
You hear one new nugget, and you're like, well, it's like sometimes I'm like, it's like, oh wow, I didn't even think about it that way, which does happen.
Yep.
More so with your content, of course. But then there's other times where somebody will state something like on a podcast, for instance, like, well, you don't quite understand how the algorithm works, so that's not quite how that works. However, how would I make it work if I did apply what you think how it works? Just to try to figure it out. It's kind of like when as almost as a challenge. And so anytime that I get a chance to listen to either somebody that's upcoming or somebody that I respect very much, like yourself, and let alone dig into an entire course, it's a great opportunity for me to refresh my skills and kind of revisit things that maybe I've dismissed over a while, because I'm going back to the basics and I'm relearning it. It's all staying focused. Now, most people probably don't have that kind of time, but because my expertise is focused in on the Amazon advertising and marketing side of the house, I'm not filling my head with like, what are the FBA shipping logistics? I've got my own brands, but most of that stuff I don't deal with. I deal with where I'm best at, where you're best at.
And
so primarily I got in, I said, it's okay, I want to know what what you're teaching, what you're focused on with your own students, with your own clients. And frankly, it gave me a second course in order to hand over to my own agency team and say, okay, once you're done with mine, now go out and learn from Sean. We've got two different voices, two different perspectives that we're coming after. It helps to kind of balance their training, because frankly, sometimes they're just going to get tired of hearing my voice and they want somebody who actually is interesting to listen to. And so it's like, oh yeah, no, I learned this over an accelerator. I'm like, cool. As long as you learned it.
As long as you learn it.
Or somebody will say, it's like, hey, what do you think about this? I go, you know what? That's something that Sean and I had discussed probably years ago. And honestly, I completely forgot about it. Let's go back and let's dig it back up again. Let's throw it over to our R&D team and then just start testing again, see how it works now.
Yep.
So sometimes it's a case of, it's a back to basics. It just has huge value. not only back to basics, but also not to diminish anything. Of course, there's a back to basics, but then there's also challenging ourselves and our own expertise to say, do we know all the intermediate and advanced tactics that are being used by other people? And so that's obviously some, the value that we get out of, through Accelerator too is, okay, what are some of the intermediate and advanced tactics? But let's not forget to go back to the basics and revisit some things that maybe we've overlooked or dismissed over time. And sometimes, look at gold panning. You and I collaborated on creating gold panning, and that was something that I had started out with just like, oh, here's how you do it with a keyword campaign. And he said, well, you can do it with brand ads, and then of course now we're like going, you can do it on everything. And that's part of our normal practice within the agency.
ASIN gold panning.
Was it?
ASINs with product target gold panning. I mean,
exactly. And some of those work phenomenally well. And so it's no wonder why you've got others who have purchased your course and gone through your course, either in the past or very recently, that like, wait a minute, you know all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but I'm going to go back through it again and again and again and again and again until I find every single little nugget that I can think of what's working now, and continue to. That's how we always continue to get better. Each of us at this tier, at this level, is how do we continue to challenge ourselves to be, the top of the top? It's like,